Captain Daniel Hayes stood at attention in the observation deck of the Galactic Council station. His dress uniform felt stiff after 6 months of wearing it to these endless diplomatic meetings. He watched through the massive windows as alien ships docked and departed, each one representing a species that had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Humanity had only joined this community half a year ago, and already some of the older races were making it clear they thought Earth did not belong here. Ambassador Claire Morrison sat at the curved table in the council chamber below. Daniel could see her through the transparent floor of the observation deck. She was speaking with several council members, her voice calm and professional as always. Next to Daniel, Lieutenant Maya Sullivan checked her datapad for the 3rd time in 10 minutes. "They are going to challenge us again," Maya said quietly. "The Koltari have been pushing for this vote all week." Daniel nodded. The Koltari Empire controlled 70 star systems and had the largest military force in this sector of the galaxy. Their ships were fast, their weapons were powerful, and their soldiers were trained from birth to fight. Commander Vrix, their representative on the council, had made it very clear that he thought humanity was too primitive and too weak to be part of the galactic community. The doors to the council chamber opened, and Commander Vrix entered. He was tall, nearly 7 feet, with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. His ceremonial armor gleamed under the lights, covered in medals and symbols of rank. Behind him walked 6 of his officers, all wearing the same proud expressions. "The Koltari delegation requests the floor," Vrix announced, his voice carrying easily through the large room. Council Speaker Zorath, an elderly being from a species that looked like walking crystals, gestured for Vrix to proceed. Daniel leaned forward. This was not going to be good. "Honored members of the council," Vrix began, "I come before you today with serious concerns about the human admission to our community. In the 6 months since Earth joined us, we have seen no evidence that they possess the strength or capability to contribute meaningfully to galactic security." Ambassador Morrison stood up. "Commander Vrix, humanity has shared our technological advances and our cultural knowledge freely with all council members. We have participated in every joint operation requested of us." "Yes," Vrix replied, turning to face her. "You have participated. But your soldiers are slow. Your ships are outdated. Your people come from a backwater world with no real threats, no real challenges. You have never faced a true military power." He paused, and Daniel could see the challenge in his eyes. "The Koltari have fought wars that lasted centuries. We have defended this sector against invasion fleets and pirate armadas. What has humanity done? You have barely left your own star system." Quote, several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Representative Kelm, a reptilian species known for their neutrality, spoke up. "Commander Vrix, what exactly are you proposing?" "A military exchange program," Vrix said. "Let the Koltari evaluate human military capabilities directly. Send your best soldiers to train with ours. Or better yet, let my elite troops visit Earth and see your training facilities. Let us judge for ourselves if humanity truly belongs among the warrior races of the galaxy." Maya grabbed Daniel's arm. "He is setting us up to fail," she whispered. "The Koltari have been studying our broadcasts, our military demonstrations. He knows something we do not." Ambassador Morrison looked up at the observation deck, making brief eye contact with Daniel. He could see the question in her eyes. She needed his assessment as the senior military advisor on the diplomatic team. Daniel thought carefully. Commander Vrix was arrogant, yes, but he was not stupid. The Koltari had studied human military operations for months. They had seen human soldiers training in the reduced gravity of the council station. They had watched recordings of Earth military exercises. What they had not done was visit Earth itself. He activated his communication link. "Ambassador, approve the exchange. Let them send their troops to Earth." Morrison's eyebrow raised slightly, but she trusted his judgment. She turned back to Vrix. "The human delegation accepts your proposal, Commander. We invite you and your elite soldiers to visit Earth and observe our training facilities firsthand. Vrix smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Excellent. I will personally lead a team of 12 of our finest warriors. We will arrive at your homeworld within 2 weeks. We look forward to hosting you, Morrison replied. As the council session ended, Daniel and Maya made their way down to the main level. Ambassador Morrison met them outside the chamber. Her expression worried. Captain Hayes, please tell me you have a good reason for accepting that challenge, she said. I do. Ambassador, Daniel replied. Commander Vrix has made one critical error in his assessment of humanity. And what is that? He has been watching us train and operate here, in the station's standard gravity environment. Council station gravity is calibrated to 0.7 of Earth standard. The Koltari homeworld has even lower gravity, about 0.6. Their entire military force is adapted to low-gravity combat. Maya's eyes widened as she understood. They have never experienced full Earth gravity. Exactly, Daniel said. When their elite soldiers step off their shuttle onto Earth's surface, they are going to be carrying 40 to 50% more weight than their bodies have ever dealt with. Every muscle, every bone, every movement will be fighting against a force they have never trained for. Morrison looked between them. You are telling me their soldiers will not be able to handle our gravity? I am telling you, Ambassador, that what Commander Vrix sees as human weakness in space is actually human strength on our own world. We are not slow because we are weak. We are slow in low gravity because we are built for high gravity. Every human who walks around this station is moving in what feels like underwater conditions to us. But on Earth? Daniel smiled. On Earth, we are going to show the Koltari why you never underestimate a species based on how they perform away from their home environment. Should we warn them? Morrison asked. I tried, Daniel said. 3 weeks ago, I sent a formal notice to their delegation, explaining Earth's gravity specifications and offering to provide assistance suits. Their response called it human arrogance and declined the offer. Maya pulled up her datapad. I have been running calculations. An average Koltari soldier weighs about 200 pounds in their armor. In Earth gravity, that is going to feel like over 300 pounds. Their muscles are not designed for that load. Node. What about Commander Vrix? Morrison asked. He seems very confident. He should be worried, Daniel said. But pride is a powerful thing. He has built his reputation on Koltari superiority. Admitting that his soldiers cannot handle a simple environmental difference would be humiliating. He is betting that his troops can adapt quickly enough to hide any weakness. Morrison sighed. Then we prepare to host them. But Captain, I want full medical facilities standing by. If their soldiers start suffering health problems because of the gravity, I do not want an interspecies incident on our hands. Already arranged, Ambassador, Daniel replied. Major Ryan Cooper, at Camp Pendleton, is expecting them. He has been briefed on the situation and has medical staff ready. We will take care of them, even if they are too proud to ask for help. As they walked back to the human section of the station, Daniel looked out at the stars. In 2 weeks, Commander Vrix and his elite warriors would land on Earth. They would expect to find primitive facilities and weak soldiers. Instead, they were going to learn a hard lesson about the difference between strength in space and strength on a high-gravity world. Maya broke the silence. Do you think this will change anything? Even if they struggle with the gravity, they might just claim it is an unfair test. Maybe, Daniel admitted. But once they experience what every human child grows up with, once they understand that we live and train and fight in conditions that would crush most galactic species, they will have to reconsider their assessment. We are not weak, Lieutenant. We are just built for a different kind of war. The transport shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, cutting through clouds that seemed thicker than anything Commander Vrix had experienced before. He sat in the command seat, surrounded by his 12 finest warriors. Each one had been selected from thousands of candidates. Each had proven themselves in combat against pirates, rebels, and hostile species. They were the pride of the Koltari military. Commander, we are receiving final approach instructions from the human base. his pilot announced. "They are directing us to landing pad 3. "Acknowledged," Vrix said. He stood and addressed his team. "Remember, we are here to evaluate human military capability. Show them what true warriors look like. Show them Koltari discipline and strength." His soldiers responded with a unified salute. They were ready. Their armor was polished, their weapons secured, and their pride was at its peak. Vrix had reviewed human military operations extensively. He had watched their soldiers move slowly through training exercises. He had seen their clumsy attempts at hand-to-hand combat in the Council Station's training rooms. This was going to be an easy evaluation. The shuttle touched down with a slight bump. Through the viewport, Vrix could see a formation of human soldiers standing at attention on the landing pad. A human officer stood at the front, his uniform decorated with ribbons and insignia. Behind him was a medical building, and what looked like training facilities stretching into the distance. "Depressurizing cabin," the pilot announced. "Opening rear hatch." The hatch descended, forming a ramp to the ground below. Vrix strode forward confidently, his forearms held in a position of authority. His soldiers fell in behind him in perfect formation. The sun was bright, the air was warm, and everything seemed normal. Vrix took his first step onto the ramp, and immediately felt something wrong. His leg nearly buckled under him. The step that should have been effortless suddenly required real force. His armor, which normally felt like a second skin, pressed down on his shoulders like a heavy burden. Vrix grabbed the railing of the ramp to steady himself, confusion crossing his face. Behind him, Sub-Commander Thera took her first step and gasped. "Commander, something is not right." "Keep formation," Vrix ordered, though his voice came out strained. He forced himself to take another step down the ramp. Each movement was a struggle. His muscles screamed in protest. It felt like someone had attached weights to every part of his body. 3 steps behind him, Soldier Krell simply collapsed. He fell forward onto the ramp with a crash of armor against metal. 2 more soldiers, trying to catch him, went down as well. Their legs could not support both their own weight and the effort of helping a fallen comrade. Major Ryan Cooper, the human officer, immediately moved forward. "Medical team, now!" he shouted. Several humans ran toward the shuttle, moving with a speed that seemed impossible to Vrix. How were they running? How were they even walking normally? Vrix made it to the bottom of the ramp and stood on Earth's surface. His entire body shook with the effort of staying upright. Around him, his elite soldiers were in various states of distress. Some were on their knees. Others leaned against the shuttle for support. Only Sub-Commander Thera and 2 others remained standing, and they looked like they were about to fall at any moment. Dr. Peter Wong reached them first, a medical scanner in his hand. "Commander Vrix, I need you to sit down immediately. Your cardiovascular system is under extreme stress." "What is happening?" Vrix demanded. Though he did sit down on the ramp, his legs simply would not hold him anymore. "You are experiencing Earth's full gravity for the first time," Dr. Wong explained. He knelt beside Vrix, his movements easy and natural despite the crushing force that Vrix felt. "Earth's gravity is 1.0 standard. The Council Station runs at 0.7. Your homeworld is 0.6. Your body is not adapted to this environment." Vrix wanted to argue, to say that elite Koltari warriors could handle any environment, but he could barely breathe. Behind the doctor, human medics were helping his soldiers. They lifted fallen warriors with apparent ease, though each Koltari soldier weighed over 200 pounds with their armor. The humans carried them like children. Sergeant Lisa Grant approached Major Cooper, her face concerned but not surprised. "Sir, all 12 Koltari soldiers are showing signs of gravity-induced stress. 3 have lost consciousness. The others are experiencing muscle fatigue, respiratory distress, and joint strain. Get them into the medical facility," Cooper ordered. "And someone bring the gravity assist suits from storage." Vrix forced himself to focus through the pain. "Gravity assist suits?" Dr. Wong nodded. "Yes, Commander. When Captain Hayes sent the notification about Earth's gravity 3 weeks ago, we prepared equipment to help visiting species adapt. The suits use counterforce technology to reduce the effective gravity you experience. We assumed you would request them upon arrival. We do not need assistance, Vrix said, though his voice lacked conviction. Koltari soldiers do not show weakness. This is not weakness. Commander, Major Cooper said. He walked over and crouched down to Vrix's eye level. The movement was casual, effortless. This is physics. Your species evolved on a low-gravity world. Ours evolved on a high-gravity world. Neither is better or worse. They are just different. But you move so easily, Thera said. She was sitting now too, her breathing heavy. How are you not affected? We are affected, Cooper replied. Just in the opposite way. When we visit the council station or other low-gravity environments, we feel light. We have to relearn how to move, because we are used to fighting this gravity every moment of every day. Human children grow up carrying this weight. Our bones are denser, our muscles are stronger, our cardiovascular systems are more powerful. All because Earth demands it. Another human soldier jogged over carrying a case. He handed it to Dr. Wong, and then jogged away again. Vrix watched him go, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. That soldier had just run across 50 meters of open ground, in full uniform, carrying equipment. The movement that would have exhausted a Koltari warrior had been nothing more than a casual task for the human. Dr. Wong opened the case and pulled out what looked like a lightweight vest. This is a gravity assist suit. It will generate a counterforce field around your body, reducing the effective gravity to 0.85. That is still higher than your homeworld, but it should allow you to function without immediate medical danger. Vrix wanted to refuse. Every instinct told him that accepting this help would be admitting defeat. But he could see his soldiers. 3 were unconscious. The rest were in clear pain, and they had been on Earth's surface for less than 2 minutes. How long have you known? He asked Major Cooper. How long have you known this would happen? Cooper's expression was sympathetic but firm. Captain Hayes tried to warn you, Commander. He sent detailed information about Earth's environmental conditions. You dismissed it as arrogance. I thought you were exaggerating, Vrix admitted. I thought you were trying to make excuses for your poor performance in standard gravity environments. We do not perform poorly, Sergeant Grant said. She stepped forward, her stance relaxed. We perform normally for humans, but when we are in lower gravity, we are fighting against our own strength. Every movement requires us to hold back because we are built for this. She stamped her foot on the ground for emphasis. The impact would have staggered a Koltari. For her, it was nothing. Dr. Wong helped Vrix into the gravity assist suit. The moment it activated, Vrix felt immediate relief. The crushing weight lifted, though not entirely. He could breathe again. He could stand, though it still required effort. The suit is set to 0.85, Wong explained. I recommend leaving it there for at least 3 days, while your body adapts. We can gradually reduce the assistance over the next few weeks. Vrix stood slowly. Around him, medics were fitting his soldiers with their own suits. The 3 who had lost consciousness were being carried into the medical facility. Human soldiers did the carrying, their steps steady and sure despite the burden. Sub-Commander Thera came to stand beside Vrix. Her suit was active now, and color was returning to her face. Commander, I have been watching the human soldiers. They are not showing any signs of strain. This gravity that nearly killed us is their normal. Vrix nodded slowly. He looked across the base, seeing human soldiers going about their daily routines. Some were running. Some were carrying equipment. A group was doing physical exercises in an open area, their bodies moving through push-ups and pull-ups with practiced ease. They were not superhuman. They were not genetically enhanced. They were simply adapted to their environment. And suddenly, Vrix understood why human soldiers seemed slow and clumsy in space. They were not weak. They were overbuilt. Every human he had ever met, every soldier he had dismissed as inferior, had been operating at a fraction of their potential. They had been moving in an environment that felt, to them, like floating underwater. What have I done? Vrix said quietly. Major Cooper heard him. You made an assumption, Commander. It is a common one. Most species in the galactic community evolved on worlds with gravity between zero point 0.5 and zero point 0.8. Earth is unusual. We are what the scientific community calls a high-gravity world. Some databases even classify us as a death world. Death world, Vrix repeated the term. A planet so hostile that most species cannot survive there. That is correct, Cooper said. Earth has strong gravity, dangerous weather, aggressive predators, and a thick atmosphere. Humans evolved in constant competition with our environment. We had to become strong just to survive. Dr. Wong finished setting up the last gravity suit and came back to address Vrix. Commander, I need to be clear about something. Even with the assist suits, you and your soldiers will be under significant physical stress during your stay here. I strongly recommend limiting physical activity for the first week and allowing your bodies time to adapt. We came here to train, Vrix said, to evaluate human military capabilities. And you will, Cooper assured him. But perhaps not in the way you originally planned. I suggest we start with observations. Watch how our soldiers train. See what humans consider normal physical activity. Then, when your team has adapted to the gravity, you can participate in joint exercises. Vrix looked at his soldiers. They were standing now, but they looked exhausted. These were warriors who had fought in zero-gravity combat, who had trained for years in the harshest conditions the Koltari Empire could create. And they had been defeated in 90 seconds by simple gravity. Very well, Major Cooper, Vrix said. We will observe, and we will learn what it truly means to be born on a death world. 3 days had passed since the Koltari arrived on Earth. Commander Vrix sat in the observation room overlooking the main training facility at Camp Pendleton. His gravity assist suit was now set to 0.9, and while movement was still difficult, he could at least function without constant pain. His soldiers were scattered throughout the room, all watching the humans below with expressions that ranged from disbelief to grudging respect. On the training floor, a group of human Marines was going through their morning routine. Sergeant Lisa Grant led them through exercises that Vrix had initially dismissed as simple warm-ups. He was no longer making that mistake. Push-ups, 50 count, Grant called out. Begin. The Marines dropped to the ground and began. Their bodies moved up and down in perfect rhythm. Vrix watched one young Marine, who could not have been more than 20 years old, complete all 50 repetitions without slowing down. His arms supported his entire body weight, plus the weight of his equipment, plus the crushing force of Earth's gravity, over and over again. In Koltari training, Subcommander Thera said quietly, our soldiers do push-ups in 0.6 gravity. They complete 50 repetitions and we consider it good conditioning. These humans are doing the same exercise in nearly double the gravitational force. And they are not even breathing hard, Vrix added. He had been watching closely. The Marines showed effort, certainly. But they were not struggling. This was normal for them. This was their daily routine. Dr. Peter Wong entered the observation room carrying a data pad. Good morning, Commander. I wanted to review some findings with you. Please, Vrix gestured to a seat. I am eager to understand what we are seeing. Wong pulled up a holographic display showing comparative anatomy. This is a Koltari skeletal structure next to a human one. Notice the differences. Human bones are significantly denser. Our bone mass is approximately 23% higher than yours. This is a direct adaptation to high gravity. Our bodies need stronger frames to support the weight. The display shifted to show muscular systems. Human muscle tissue is also denser and more efficient. We have a higher percentage of what we call slow-twitch muscle fibers, which provide sustained strength and endurance. A human soldier can carry heavy loads for extended periods without the rapid fatigue that would affect a Koltari warrior in the same conditions. Vrix studied the images. What about cardiovascular systems? That is where the differences become even more pronounced, Wong said. He pulled up images of hearts and circulatory systems. The human heart is larger and more powerful relative to body size. We need it to be. Pumping blood against Earth's gravity requires significant force. When a human stands up, our hearts have to work against that gravitational pull to send blood to our brains. We evolved a cardiovascular system that can handle this constant demand. So when humans travel to low-gravity environments, Vrix said slowly, their bodies are over-engineered for the conditions. Exactly, Wong confirmed. A human heart that is designed to pump blood upward against one standard gravity suddenly finds itself in point 0.7 gravity. The blood flows more easily. The muscles that are built to carry weight in high gravity suddenly have less weight to move. Everything becomes easier, but also harder to control. It is like asking a weightlifter to do delicate surgery. They have the strength, but they have to relearn how to apply it precisely. On the training floor below, the Marines had moved on to running. They circled the large indoor track, their feet pounding against the surface in steady rhythm. Corporal Jake Stevens ran past the observation window. He was younger than most of the Marines, fresh out of basic training according to his file. He was also carrying a 60-pound pack on his back. How much does that pack weigh in actual terms? Vrix asked. Captain Daniel Hayes, who had just joined them, answered. 60 pounds in Earth gravity. In Koltari homeworld gravity, it would feel like about 36 pounds. Still heavy, but manageable. Here, that young Marine is carrying what would feel like a significant burden to your soldiers, and he is running laps. How long will he run? Thera asked. Standard morning run is 3 miles, Hayes replied. Takes most Marines about 25 minutes with full pack. Vrix did the calculations in his head. 3 miles in this gravity, carrying that weight, in 25 minutes. A Koltari soldier in training might manage such a feat once, as a test of extreme endurance. These humans did it every morning before breakfast. Sergeant Grant's voice came through the observation room speakers. Obstacle course, full gear. Time limit is 15 minutes. Move out. The Marines headed toward a massive outdoor course that Vrix could see through the windows. It included walls to climb, ropes to cross, barriers to jump, and various other challenges. What caught Vrix's attention was the height of some obstacles. The walls were 12 feet tall. The rope crossings were suspended 20 feet above mud pits. Surely they use assistance equipment for those heights, Vrix said. Hayes smiled. No assistance, Commander. Raw strength and technique. Watch. Corporal Stevens reached the first wall. Without hesitation, he jumped upward, his hands catching the top edge. His arms pulled his entire body up and over in one smooth motion. He dropped down the other side and continued running. That wall is 12 feet high, Vrix said. He jumped and grabbed the top. That requires explosive leg strength to generate the upward momentum, arm strength to pull up his full body weight plus equipment, and core strength to get over smoothly. All in this gravity. Now you are beginning to understand, Hayes said. Human soldiers train in these conditions from the moment they arrive at basic training. Some of them, like Stevens, played sports in high school that required similar athletic ability. By the time they reach active duty, moving their bodies in Earth gravity is as natural as breathing. Dr. Wong pulled up another holographic display. Commander, I want to show you something else. This is data from human childhood development. The image showed children at various ages engaged in activities. Playing, running, climbing trees. Human children grow up in this gravity. Their bones develop under this pressure. Their muscles strengthen through normal play. By the time a human reaches adulthood, they have spent 18 to 20 years adapting to conditions that your soldiers experienced for the first time 3 days ago. Vrix watched a display showing a human child, perhaps 10 years old, climbing a tree. The child moved with confidence, supporting their full body weight on branches, pulling themselves up level by level. That same child, in Koltari gravity, would be able to jump twice as high, lift twice as much weight, and move with incredible speed. We are not slow, Vrix said, understanding finally clicking into place. Humans are not slow in space. They are holding back. Yes, Hayes confirmed. When a human soldier trains in low gravity, they have to relearn everything. How much force to use when pushing off from a surface. How to throw a punch without launching themselves backward. How to run without jumping too high with each step. We look clumsy because we are fighting against our own strength. Thera stood and walked to the window. Below, Marines were completing the obstacle course. She watched them climb, jump, and run through challenges that would hospitalize Koltari soldiers. In space combat, she said, we thought humans were inferior because they moved slowly and carefully. We thought they lacked the natural grace of species adapted to zero gravity. But you were watching people who are used to carrying their body weight in one standard gravity, suddenly operating in 0.3 or 0.4 gravity, Wong explained. Imagine trying to do precise work while wearing a suit that makes you 10 times stronger than you need to be. Every movement becomes a potential mistake. Vrix thought back to combat footage he had reviewed. There had been a pirate raid on a mining station 6 months ago. Human security forces had responded alongside Koltari peacekeepers. Vrix had watched the recordings and noted how carefully the humans moved, how they seemed to think about every action. At the time, he had attributed it to lack of training. Now he understood they were being careful because they knew their own strength. A punch thrown with full force by a human in low gravity could be lethal. A jump could send them crashing into a ceiling. They moved slowly, not from weakness, but from an abundance of caution. There is something else you should see, Hayes said. He led them down to the training floor, where a group of new recruits was being put through basic exercises. These were not seasoned Marines. These were civilians who had just entered military service. Private Nicole Park was among them. Her file said she was 19 years old, had joined the Marines 3 months ago, and was about to complete basic training. She stood at a testing station where soldiers were demonstrating their maximum lifting capacity. Private Park, the testing instructor called. Standard lift test. Show me your max. Nicole approached a barbell loaded with weights. She positioned herself, gripped the bar, and lifted. The weight rose smoothly to her chest. Then, above her head. She held it there for 3 seconds, then lowered it with control. 215 pounds, the instructor announced. Good work, Private. That is above standard for your weight class. Vrix stared. That young human, who weighed perhaps 140 pounds herself, had just lifted 215 pounds over her head. In Earth gravity, she had supported more than 1.5 times her own body weight against the crushing force that had nearly killed his elite soldiers. Private Park is not exceptional by human standards, Hayes said. She is average. Every Marine in basic training works up to similar lifting capacity. Some exceed it significantly. And they do not use enhancement drugs or genetic modification. This is natural human capability, developed through training in Earth's environment. Thera turned to Vrix. Commander, we need to reconsider everything we know about human combat effectiveness. I know, Vrix said quietly. He watched the human recruits continue their training. These were not elite warriors. These were ordinary people who had decided to serve in their planet's military, and every single one of them possessed physical capabilities that would place them in the top tier of Koltari special forces. Dr. Wong, Vrix said, you mentioned that Earth is classified as a death world. What else about this planet makes it dangerous? Wong smiled, though there was no humor in it. Commander, we have only discussed gravity. Would you like to hear about the predators? The weather patterns? The diseases? Earth has tested humanity in countless ways throughout our evolution. Gravity is just the beginning. Vrix looked out at the training ground. Watching humans move with practiced ease through an environment that would kill most galactic species, he thought about the implications for military operations, for galactic politics, for the future of human integration into the wider community. Yes, Doctor, he said. I want to know everything. Because the Galactic Council needs to understand that they have not admitted a weak species to their community. They have admitted a species that was forged in conditions that most races cannot even imagine. Commander Vrix stood at the starting line of the obstacle course, his gravity assist suit humming quietly as it reduced Earth's pull to 0.85. A week had passed since the Koltari arrival, and Dr. Wong had finally cleared them for light physical training. Beside him, Sub-Commander Thera and 4 other Koltari soldiers prepared themselves. They had spent 7 days watching humans train. Now it was time to try it themselves. Sergeant Lisa Grant stood nearby, clipboard in hand. Commander, we have modified the course for your current gravity settings. The walls are lower, the distances are shorter, and we have removed some of the more challenging obstacles. This is roughly equivalent to what we would give to human recruits in their first week of basic training. Vrix nodded. He had watched human recruits train. He knew what Grant meant by first week of basic training. These were civilians who had never served in the military, being introduced to physical conditioning for the first time. And yet, even those raw recruits had demonstrated capabilities that impressed him. "We are ready, Sergeant," Vrix said. "Course begins on the whistle," Grant replied. She raised the whistle to her lips and blew. Vrix ran forward. Even with the gravity assist, his legs felt heavy. The first obstacle was a low wall, only 6 feet high instead of the standard 12. He reached it and tried to jump to grab the top. His fingers caught the edge, but pulling himself up required far more effort than he had anticipated. His arms shook with strain as he hauled his body upward. Behind him, Thera grunted with effort as she climbed over. 2 of the other Koltari soldiers were still trying to get their arms over the top. This was the modified course, the easy version, and they were already struggling. Vrix dropped down the other side and continued to the next obstacle. A series of barriers stood in his path, each about 3 feet high. Human recruits hurdled over these or vaulted them with ease. Vrix had to stop at each one, place his hands on top, and swing his legs over carefully. The movements that looked so natural when humans did them required conscious thought and effort for him. By the time he reached the rope climb, Vrix was breathing hard. The rope stretched upward 15 feet to a platform. In Koltari training facilities, soldiers climbed 30-foot ropes in 0.6 gravity as a standard exercise. This rope was half that height, and he was operating in reduced gravity thanks to his suit. It should have been simple. It was not simple. Vrix gripped the rope and pulled. His body weight, even reduced, fought against him. His arms burned after just a few feet. He looked to his left and saw a human recruit, a young woman who could not have weighed more than 130 pounds, climbing a rope twice as tall with apparent ease. She reached the top, touched the platform, and descended in smooth hand-over-hand movements. Vrix made it halfway up before his arms gave out. He held on, gasping for breath, and carefully lowered himself back down. He had failed an obstacle that human recruits completed on their first attempt. Sergeant Grant jogged over, not even breathing hard, despite having run the length of the course to reach him. "Commander, are you all right? Do you need medical attention?" "I am fine," Vrix said, though his pride was wounded far worse than his body. "I simply underestimated the challenge. I simply underestimated the challenge. The rope climb is difficult," Grant said. "It requires upper body strength and technique. Human recruits train on these for weeks before they can do it smoothly. The fact that you made it halfway on your first attempt shows good effort." Vrix appreciated the kindness in her words, but he also saw the truth. She was comparing his performance to raw human recruits who had been training for weeks. His elite Koltari soldiers, with years of combat experience, were being measured against civilians in their first month of basic training. He looked back at the starting line. Only Thera and 1 other soldier had made it past the wall obstacle. The rest had given up, their bodies unable to handle even the modified course. These were warriors who had fought in zero-gravity boarding actions, who had completed month-long survival exercises on hostile worlds, who had earned medals for courage and skill, and they could not complete a course designed for human beginners. Captain Daniel Hayes approached, Lieutenant Maya Sullivan beside him. "Commander, I think it is time we had a more detailed conversation about Earth's environmental history." They moved to a briefing room where the Koltari could rest. Dr. Wong joined them, along with Major Ryan Cooper. Vrix and his soldiers sat heavily in chairs designed for humans, their bodies exhausted from 15 minutes of light exercise. Maya Sullivan activated a holographic display showing Earth's timeline. Human evolution spans millions of years. Throughout that time, Earth has been a challenging environment. "Let me show you what our ancestors survived." The display showed prehistoric Earth. Massive creatures roamed the landscape. These are what we call dinosaurs. They dominated Earth for over 160 million years. Some were herbivores larger than your transport shuttle. Others were predators with jaws strong enough to crush bones. Early mammals, our distant ancestors, survived by being small, fast, and adaptable. The image shifted forward in time. After the dinosaurs died out, mammals evolved to fill every ecological niche. Earth produced predators of incredible variety: saber-toothed cats with 9-inch fangs, cave bears that stood 12 feet tall, wolves that hunted in coordinated packs, and humans, who survived not through armor or natural weapons, but through intelligence, cooperation, and endurance. Thera leaned forward. Your people had no natural defenses? No claws, no thick hide, no venom? None, Sullivan replied. We had big brains, opposable thumbs, and the ability to run for very long distances. Human ancestors would chase prey animals for hours, or even days. The prey would be faster, but humans could keep going when other predators tired. We call it persistence hunting. Humans would literally run animals to death through sheer endurance. Vrix tried to imagine it. Humans chasing prey across vast distances, in Earth's crushing gravity, for hours at a time. The mental image was both impressive and terrifying. Dr. Wong took over. Modern humans inherited this endurance. We also inherited adaptations from living in various climates. Humans evolved in Africa, where temperatures can exceed 50 degrees Celsius. We spread to northern regions where winter temperatures drop below -40 degrees. We adapted to high altitudes where oxygen is scarce. We learned to survive in deserts, jungles, tundra, and everything in between. The display showed humans living in different environments. Some wore heavy furs against snow, others lived in villages surrounded by dense jungle. Each group had adapted, using tools and intelligence to overcome environmental challenges. Earth also has weather patterns unlike anything in most habitable worlds, Sullivan continued. We have hurricanes, with winds exceeding 200 miles per hour. Tornadoes that can destroy entire towns in minutes. Tsunamis that create waves over 100 feet tall. Earthquakes that reshape landscapes. And humans built civilizations despite all of this. Major Cooper spoke up. Commander Vrix, you asked why human soldiers move carefully in low-gravity environments. Now consider what I am about to tell you. When humans engage in space combat, we are not just fighting the enemy, we are fighting our own instincts. Every human warrior has been conditioned by life on Earth to understand the consequences of their actions. We learn from childhood that mistakes have weight. Literally, if you fall from a tree in Earth gravity, you break bones. If you swing a tool too hard, you damage what you are working on. We develop fine control because our environment demands it. But in space, Vrix said slowly, those instincts work against you. Initially, yes, Cooper agreed. A human soldier's first low-gravity combat experience is often problematic. They pull their punches too much. They jump too carefully. They move like they are underwater. But once we adapt, once we learn to let go of those restraints, we become something different. We become what we actually are. Humans operating at full capacity in an environment where our strength is finally an advantage instead of something we need to carefully control. Hayes pulled up combat footage. This is from a boarding action 3 months ago. A Koltari ship was seized by pirates. Human Marines assisted in the rescue. Watch carefully. The footage showed the interior of a ship in zero gravity. Human soldiers moved through corridors, clearing rooms. Vrix watched as one Marine encountered a pirate. The human's punch sent the pirate flying backward into a wall with enough force to dent the metal. Another Marine physically threw a pirate through a doorway, the enemy tumbling end over end down a corridor. These Marines had 3 weeks of low-gravity combat training before this mission, Hayes said. They were still learning to adjust their strength. By the time we have soldiers with 6 months of space combat experience, they learn exactly how much force to use. They become precise. And when they apply their full strength in low gravity, the results are devastating. Vrix thought about Koltari combat doctrine. It was built around speed and agility in low gravity. Koltari soldiers trained to move quickly through zero-gravity environments, using their forearms for rapid direction changes. They wore light armor because weight was a disadvantage in space. They used small, precise weapons because large equipment was clumsy in zero gravity. But what if they faced an opponent who could treat zero gravity as an advantage? What if they fought soldiers who could throw heavy objects like toys, who could punch through light armor with bare hands, who could move equipment that would require powered assistance for most species? You are thinking about military implications, Sullivan said, watching Vrix's expression. You are wondering what this means for galactic security. I am wondering what this means for everything, Vrix replied. The Council admitted humanity based on the assumption that humans are a weak species from an easy world. We thought Earth was a simple planet with no significant threats. We thought humans would contribute through technology and diplomacy, not military strength. And now? Hayes asked. Now I understand that we have admitted a species that was forged in hell, Vrix said bluntly. A species that evolved in gravity that crushes other races. A species that survived predators that would terrify most galactic citizens. A species that considers hurricanes and earthquakes to be normal weather. And we thought you were weak because you move carefully in our comfortable environments. Thera stood and walked to the window overlooking the training facility. I have been watching human children play in the recreational areas. They run, climb, and jump in this gravity like it is nothing. There are children, no older than 10 Earth years, who can probably outrun and outclimb most adult Koltari. And they do not even think about it. It is just how they play. That is correct, Wong said gently. Human children develop in this environment. Their bodies adapt from birth. By the time they reach adulthood, they have spent their entire lives getting stronger just to perform basic functions. Walking, running, picking up objects. Everything is resistance training in high gravity. Vrix stood, his legs still shaking slightly from the failed obstacle course attempt. Captain Hayes, I need to send a report to the Galactic Council. But before I do, I want to see more. I want to understand the full scope of human capability. I want to witness your soldiers at their best, not carefully restricting themselves for diplomatic purposes. Hayes smiled. We can arrange that. Commander, there is a special operations training exercise scheduled for tomorrow. Human special forces running full combat scenarios, no restrictions, no modifications for observers. Are you prepared to see what humans can really do? Yes, Vrix said, because the Council needs to know the truth. They need to understand that humanity is not a charity case that needs protection. Humanity is a military power that has been holding back out of politeness. The Galactic Council chamber was packed. Word had spread that Commander Vrix was returning to deliver his assessment of human military capabilities. Representatives from 40 species filled the seats, all eager to hear the Koltari commander confirm what they already believed. Humanity was too weak, too primitive, too soft to truly belong among the galactic powers. Ambassador Claire Morrison sat in the human delegation section, her face carefully neutral. She had received daily reports from Captain Hayes about what was happening on Earth. She knew what Vrix had experienced, but she also knew that the commander's pride had been deeply wounded. There was no guarantee he would tell the truth about what he had learned. Council Speaker Zorath called the session to order. Commander Vrix of the Koltari Empire has returned from his evaluation mission to Earth. The Council recognizes Commander Vrix. Vrix stood and walked to the central platform. He moved smoothly now, his body having adapted somewhat to standard Council gravity after 2 weeks in Earth's crushing environment. His expression was serious as he faced the assembled representatives. Honored members of the Council, he began. 3 weeks ago, I stood in this chamber and questioned humanity's fitness for galactic citizenship. I argued that humans were weak, slow, and unprepared for the challenges of interstellar society. I demanded the right to evaluate their military capabilities directly. Representative Kelm leaned forward, his reptilian features showing satisfaction. This was exactly what he had expected to hear. I took 12 of the Koltari Empire's finest soldiers to Earth, Vrix continued. Elite warriors, each with years of combat experience. Veterans of campaigns across multiple star systems. I was confident that we would quickly demonstrate the superiority of Koltari military training. He paused, and Morrison noticed his hands gripping the podium tightly. I was wrong. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. Zorath called for order. When my soldiers stepped off our shuttle onto Earth's surface, Vrick said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. 3 of them immediately collapsed. The rest could barely stand. Within 90 seconds of landing on humanity's homeworld, my elite warriors were incapacitated. Not by enemy action, not by hostile conditions, but by simple gravity. He activated a holographic display showing the Koltari arrival. The council watched in silence as the armored warriors stumbled, fell, and struggled against an invisible force. Human medics rushed to help them, moving with ease in the same conditions that had defeated battle-hardened soldiers. Earth's gravity is 1.0 standard, Vrix explained. This is approximately 43% stronger than Koltari homeworld gravity. It is also stronger than the gravity of most council member worlds. Humans evolved under these conditions. Every human child grows up carrying this weight. Every human adult has spent their entire life adapting to an environment that would hospitalize the majority of galactic citizens. Representative Kelm stood. Commander, are you suggesting that humans are superior simply because they come from a high-gravity world? This seems like an excuse for poor Koltari performance. Vrix's eyes narrowed. Representative Kelm, your homeworld has 0.5 gravity. In Earth conditions, you would be crushed to death within minutes. Your species could not survive a single day on humanity's planet without technological assistance. Do not mistake your ignorance for my failure. Kelm sat down quickly, his scales flushing with embarrassment. Vrix continued. I spent 2 weeks on Earth. I observed human military training. I watched their soldiers perform exercises that would be considered superhuman feats on most of our worlds. I witnessed human recruits, civilians who had just entered military service, demonstrate strength and endurance that exceeds the capabilities of seasoned warriors from low-gravity species. He changed the holographic display to show human Marines running obstacle courses, climbing ropes, and completing combat drills. These humans are not using genetic enhancement. They are not using powered armor or strength-augmenting drugs. This is natural human capability, developed through normal training in their native environment. Ambassador Morrison watched the council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. They were beginning to understand. But gravity is only part of the story, Vrick said. Earth is classified in the scientific databases as a death world. Most council members have never bothered to read the full classification report. I have now read it. Earth has survived 5 mass extinction events. It has weather patterns that include wind speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour. It has temperature variations from -40 to +50 degrees Celsius. It has predators that have evolved to kill with remarkable efficiency. The display showed images of Earth's wildlife: lions, sharks, bears, crocodiles. The council members watched with growing alarm as Vrix explained the capabilities of each predator. Humans evolved alongside these creatures, Vrix continued. They survived not through superior strength or natural weapons, but through intelligence, cooperation, and remarkable endurance. Human ancestors would chase prey animals for days, running them to exhaustion. This persistence hunting strategy shaped human physiology. It gave them cardiovascular systems that can maintain activity for extended periods. It gave them the ability to regulate body temperature through sweating, allowing them to function in conditions that would overheat most species. He looked directly at the council members. When we see humans in low-gravity environments, when we see them moving carefully and slowly, we interpret this as weakness. We are wrong. Humans move carefully because they are overbuilt for our environments. A human soldier trained to punch in Earth gravity, suddenly operating in 0.5, gravity must consciously hold back to avoid causing excessive damage. They must relearn how to walk without jumping too high with each step. They must adjust every movement because they are adapted to conditions 3 to 4 times more demanding than what we consider normal. Captain Daniel Hayes entered the gallery and took a seat beside Ambassador Morrison. She glanced at him, and he nodded slightly. Everything was going according to plan. Vrix changed the display again. I want to show you something that Human Military Command shared with me. This is footage from a combat simulation. Human Special Forces conducting a hostage rescue in low-gravity conditions. The Council watched as human soldiers moved through a mock ship interior. They moved with incredible speed and precision. When they engaged simulated enemies, their effectiveness was devastating. One soldier kicked an opponent so hard that the target dummy flew backward into a wall and broke apart. Another physically lifted a 200-pound barrier and threw it across a room to create cover. These soldiers have trained for 6 months in low-gravity combat, Vrix explained. They have learned to control their strength, to use it precisely and effectively. They are no longer holding back. This is human military capability when they stop trying to match themselves to our standards and simply operate at full effectiveness. He paused and looked around the chamber. Honored council members, I did not come here today to diminish humanity. I came to correct a dangerous misconception. We have been judging humans based on how they perform in our environments, under our conditions. We have been looking at a species that is constantly restraining itself, and we have mistaken that restraint for weakness. Vrix's voice grew stronger. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is a military power that we failed to recognize because we did not understand their origin. They come from a world so hostile that it would kill most of us. They evolved in conditions that forced them to become strong just to survive. And we invited them into the galactic community thinking they would need our protection. He looked at Ambassador Morrison. I owe the humans an apology. I challenged their fitness for council membership out of ignorance and pride. I have learned that humanity does not need to prove anything to us. If anything, we need to prove to them that we are worth their continued cooperation. Representative Kelm stood again, his voice uncertain. Commander Vrix, are you suggesting that humans pose a military threat to the Council? No, Vrix said firmly. I am suggesting that humans are a military asset that we have been foolish enough to underestimate. Earth has gravity that would crush most of us. It has weather that would kill us. It has predators that would terrify our people. And humans consider all of this normal. They raise children in these conditions. They build civilizations despite these challenges. When we face genuine threats, when we need soldiers who can fight in the worst conditions imaginable, humanity should be our first call for assistance, not our last resort out of diplomatic obligation. The chamber was completely silent now. Every representative was focused on Vrix's words. I propose a formal military partnership between the Koltari Empire and humanity, Vrix announced. Not as a charity, not as a training exercise, but as a genuine alliance between equals. The Koltari have ships and experience in space combat. Humans have ground combat capabilities that no other species can match. Together, we could create a combined force that leverages the strengths of both our peoples. Ambassador Morrison stood. The human delegation would be honored to discuss such a partnership, Commander Vrix. We have always sought cooperation rather than competition. Council Speaker Zorath spoke carefully. This is a significant departure from your original assessment, Commander. Are you certain about these conclusions? Speaker Zorath, I have never been more certain of anything, Vrix replied. I went to Earth, expecting to find weak soldiers and primitive facilities. Instead, I found warriors who train every day in conditions that would be considered torture by most galactic standards. I found a people who are kind and patient because they have learned to control strength that could easily be turned to destruction. The galaxy needs to understand what humanity truly is. He turned to address the entire council. Every human in this chamber right now is operating at reduced capacity. Every human ship crew is working in conditions that feel, to them, like floating in water. Every human soldier serving in galactic peacekeeping forces is carefully restraining themselves to avoid accidentally harming their allies. We have been watching humanity with one hand tied behind their back and judging them as if that were their full capability. Major Ryan Cooper appeared on a communication screen, transmitted from Earth. Council members, Commander Vrix has invited us to share some data about human military operations. With your permission, I would like to provide context for his report. Zorath nodded. The Council recognizes Major Cooper. Thank you, Speaker. Cooper said. Earth's military forces have been operating under strict engagement protocols since joining the Council. These protocols limit the force we can apply in joint operations. We implemented these limits because early joint exercises resulted in accidental injuries to our allies. We were simply too strong for mixed unit operations without adjustment. He pulled up statistics. Human soldiers in standard Council gravity can carry approximately 3 times the load weight compared to Koltari soldiers of equivalent size. Our soldiers can operate for twice as long before requiring rest. In close combat simulations, human soldiers have a 97% success rate against opponents from low-gravity species, even when we restrict our strength by half. The point Major Cooper is making, Vrix added, is that humanity has been deliberately nerfing themselves to fit in with us. They have been making themselves weaker, slower, and less effective to avoid making the rest of us uncomfortable. This needs to stop. Representative Kelm looked confused. Why would they do this? Why would any species deliberately limit their military effectiveness? Ambassador Morrison smiled. Because, Representative Kelm, humans value cooperation and friendship. We did not want our physical advantages to create barriers between us and other species. We thought if we adapted ourselves to galactic norms, we would be better allies. What we did not realize was that we were selling ourselves short and confusing everyone about our actual capabilities. Vrix nodded. Exactly. And this is why I am proposing the partnership. Let humans operate at full capacity in roles suited to their abilities. Let them handle high-gravity environments, ground combat operations, and situations requiring extreme physical endurance. Let the Koltari focus on space superiority, ship-to-ship combat, and zero-gravity operations. Together, we create a force with no weaknesses. Council Speaker Zorath considered for a long moment. This council will need to vote on formal military alliances. But Commander Vrix, your report has given us much to consider. I believe I speak for many when I say that we have learned something important today about our human colleagues. As the session ended and representatives filed out of the chamber, many stopped to speak with Ambassador Morrison. They had questions, concerns, and new respect in their eyes. The perception of humanity had shifted in a single presentation. Vrix approached Morrison as the chamber cleared. Ambassador, I owe you and your people a formal apology. I challenged humanity out of pride. I assumed weakness where there was actually strength. Commander, you came to Earth with an open mind and a willingness to learn, Morrison replied. That is more than many would have done. And your honest report today will do more for human galactic relations than years of diplomatic negotiations. Perhaps, Vrix said. But I also learned something else during my time on your world. I learned that humans are not just strong, they are kind. When my soldiers collapsed on Earth, your medics helped us immediately. When we struggled with training, your instructors adapted the courses and encouraged us. You could have humiliated us, made us look foolish for our arrogance. Instead, you treated us with respect and patience. Morrison smiled. That is humanity, Commander. We are strong enough to be gentle. We do not need to prove our superiority because we are confident in our abilities. We want partners, not subjects. Vrix extended one of his 4 hands. Then let us be partners, Ambassador. Let the Koltari and humans show the galaxy what true cooperation looks like. Morrison shook his hand. Agreed, Commander. Together, we will be stronger than either of us could be alone. As they walked together toward the conference rooms to begin planning their new alliance, Captain Hayes joined them. Commander, I received word from Major Cooper. Your soldiers are all fully adapted to Earth gravity now. Several of them have asked if they can continue training with our Marines beyond the original evaluation period. Vrix laughed, the sound carrying genuine amusement. Of course they have. They are warriors, Captain. They want to test themselves against the best. And they have discovered that the best might just be humans who have been training in hell since they were children. Quote, we would be honored to continue the exchange program, Hayes said, and who knows, maybe someday we will have joint training facilities where Koltari teach humans zero-gravity combat, and humans teach Koltari how to function in high-gravity environments. That would be fitting, Vrix agreed. Each species teaching the other how to thrive in conditions that nature did not prepare them for. That is what civilization should be about. In the months that followed, the human-Koltari military partnership became a model for galactic cooperation. Joint units deployed to crisis zones throughout the sector. Human soldiers specialized in planetary operations, boarding actions, and any mission requiring work in hostile gravity. Koltari forces provided space superiority, rapid response, and zero-gravity expertise. Other species watched and learned. Slowly, the perception of humanity shifted throughout the galactic community. They were no longer seen as the weak newcomers who needed protection. They were recognized as the survivors of a death world, warriors forged in conditions that most species could not imagine. And humanity, for its part, continued to be exactly what they had always been: strong enough to protect, kind enough to help, and wise enough to know that true power comes not from domination, but from cooperation with others who respect your strength.